All right, folks, welcome to Nino's Corner.tv. I'm joined with Jim Willie once again. It's been a while, Jim. I haven't had you on in, damn, it seems like months. And you always
It,
give a
it,
very accurate, great financial report for my YouTube audience. Folks, we're going to do a segment here, and then we're pulling it back to the Nino's Corner.tv to talk about the exact fraud that's going on. This is epic stuff. But first, folks, diversify now. Market crashes strike fast, devastating the underprepared. Just ask 𝗬𝗏𝗍 investors who saw 600 billion vanish overnight. No warning, no second chances. Noble Gold has helped thousands diversify their wealth with gold IRAs and physical gold. Having managed over 2 billion in transaction, Noble Gold is the trusted choice for Americans serious about financial security, folks. When you open a qualified account, you'll receive two 5-ounce silver American the Beautiful coins absolutely free. Go to noblegoldinvestments.com now, noblegoldinvestments.com now, and get started. Jim, all right, let's get into this. This is crazy. Where do you want to begin here? Do you want to start with the tariffs? How does this look? I'm hearing
I
the
think
Internal Revenue Service is going to be the
price
External
inflation.
Revenue Service.
Yeah, I love that. We should save the external revenue service for later. I'd like to talk about the most innocuous, the most harmless, and that's price inflation. Um, we're likely to see price inflation come down. This could be quite a surprise to the markets. And if it happens, you can expect the long bond to come down a little bit in interest rate. You
So
you
you've
could
changed
expect
your tune. I mean, we were going into a catastrophic market reset. I mean, everything's going to be globalist controlled. And now that Trump's in office, things have changed, right?
this is like flipping the switch. Yeah, I haven't been on since the election. I just checked and it's been since early November. I did something. Okay, here's what I did. I'm getting robbed. Um, I'm getting robbed. And there are maybe 6 or 8 people pretending to be me on various social networks. And I'm
Oh,
here
I
to
am too.
say,
That me too as well.
yeah, well, yeah, okay, I'd like to say something very clearly. I have no social network account that posts, period. Okay. I
I'm
have a golden jackass occasional video with my own website manager, but there's a guy with a southern accent on YouTube claiming to be me. I mean, that's how ridiculous it's getting.
Yeah,
Uh,
they're doing the same thing with me, Jim. I promise you, the
okay,
same thing's happening
I
to me.
have no social network doing any posting, period. So if you see something and it claiming to be me, it's not me. I have none. None. Okay. We're likely to see a number of different things happen at the same time that I believe is going to bring down price inflation. There are two major components to economic pricing. I mean, like across the entire spectrum, it's interest rates and the price of fuel. Interest rates and the price of fuel. So Trump has already let it be known that he's trying to. I like the word jawbone because it's not necessarily evil. It's not necessarily with bad intention, but talk to the Saudis to bring down the price of oil. Okay. And that means increase production, but it also means work against the Rockefellers. The Rockefellers did many things with the Biden show, and the results were higher prices. And we'll get to some of the other issues that happen to increase the price like diesel. Okay, if the price of diesel comes down, I mean like 10%, just a round number, it's going to be passed on to the consumer. Okay, if the Saudis bring about a lower price of oil, Trump has actually said to the Saudis, if you bring down the price of oil, it could hasten the end of the Ukraine war because it would bring down some revenues on the Russian side. Okay, there's a lot more going on than just that. We have the price of food. I think the ranchers are seeing a lot less, let's just say less pressure from the federal authorities, and the result could be more supply. Like to begin with, milk, eggs, and cheese. Okay, I eat a lot of cheese. I eat a lot of eggs. I eat a lot of milk. I drink a lot of milk. I drink a lot of juice. Okay, so that would affect me. And what I've noticed is that around neighboring countries, like I'll give you an example. Um, the orange grove farms in Florida, they got hurt by the hurricane, and the price of orange juice went up about 20%. Okay, we're likely to see that get reversed, but slowly. Okay, now for interest rates, that's another big, oh no, there's more. The entire supply chain could enjoy greater volume in supply. What I find remarkable about economists is that they stink. Economists stink. They either work for the government or they work for a bank, and they stink. Their quality of work is usually quite lousy. They've never integrated into the pricing commentary, the analysis, the supply. They always talk about demand, 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 demand. Okay, how about supply? Increase supply, reduce the cost. Okay, we had reduced supply. Therefore, we had 14% price inflation in 2021 and almost that bad in 2022. This entire supply chain, Nino, is going to get energized. Small business has already let it be known through national statistics. Small business expansion, small business optimism, it made a big jump in the last reading. I think it was University of Michigan, but I'm not sure. But the big jump means they're going to be expanding. They're going to be hiring. They're going to be, taking out loans and doing whatever. And the result is more supply. And you economists out there, why do you always ignore the second part of supply and demand? All right. The second part is interest rates. Let me just be very, very broad in my comments, but there's 100 billion here and there's 100 billion there. There's 100 billion under the rock. And there's going to be a lot less spending. There's going to be some buyout offers for severance, but we might see a reduction in the deficit. Now, I'm not saying elimination of the deficit, because that ain't going to happen, brother. But if we get a 20% reduction in the deficit with accurate accounting rather than skipping all the one-off billions, we actually might see a little reduction in the long-term interest rate. But that's one that I'm going to have to be a little bit more dodgy about as a forecast, because, oh my gosh, we just might see an international reaction to the tariffs. And the international reaction could be that they don't want to show up for auctions, bond auctions. And that opens the door for the entire tariff question. And I'm going to save some of my comments for the next part, but I'm going to make some general comments here that are, kind of sanitized and general. But the United States has to be very careful in how they throw their weight around. And this is now led by Trump and his policy. We have a bad record, even regarding some of our allies, for throwing our weight around too much. And I'm going to avoid certain words. The result has been less activity, less attendance at bond auctions. The result has been more selling of treasury bonds that are sitting in central bank reserves. If we throw our weight around too much, and we got to be careful because we're an importing nation, and anyone who thinks, and this could include Trump. Does Trump think that tariffs are not going to be passed on to the consumer in the United States? Okay, that's going to be higher prices. That's going to offset whatever benefit we get from lower fuel costs. Okay, I think gasoline and diesel are going to come down more than a little in price.
Drill baby drill is going to be a big reason for it too, right?
Yeah, but that's
I mean,
not
I've
quick.
already heard people are already setting off to Fort Stockton, Odessa area. They're already going there to get ready for this. They're not
Well,
already.
what's the time lag
I
between
mean,
getting ready?
those places became a ghost town when Biden got in. It was, I mean, those places were booming, and then boom, ghost town. Now they're headed back. So that's
The Texas basin was big. The Dakotas, both Dakotas are big. But what's the lag time? I'm thinking it's got to be 4 to 6 months, but maybe less if they, get their asses in gear. Okay. I want to make a warning about the tariffs. We're an importing nation. We've got to be very careful. And I'll make a statement that I believe is very, very true.
well, Trump wants to start manufacturing and start bringing businesses here, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to go through a process of kind of reconstruction, reinventing it,
Reindustrialization.
reindustrialization. There you go. That
That's
I
the
mean,
word.
right? I mean, that's. I mean,
Yeah,
there's going to
yeah,
be a process of this, but we are
yeah.
headed into a golden age. Don't you agree?
Uh, Potentially, yes. We have to make sure that it gets done effectively. Okay. Okay, you bring up something that I was going to bring up too. Um, there are two purposes for the threat of tariffs, in my opinion. One is negotiation on delicate matters like border control. Delicate matters, I shouldn't say any more regarding the Mexican border. Just say border control, activity at the border. And this is now, you're likely to be very close to this, Nino. I mean, like shooting. I mean,
Oh,
yeah,
I know
yeah, yeah.
this is going to be ground zero. I've
Uh,
always said cartel warfare is coming, but it looks,
uh,
I have FBI agent friends who are telling me that seven
it's
days a
here.
week, and I think they're doing a lot of the operations at night. They're coming in and they're cementing tunnels, sometimes two a day right now, and they're taking in a lot of bad hombres right now. 7 days a week, FBI, Border Patrol,
Yeah.
ICE.
Well, back to the threat of tariff. The threat of tariff will bring about more cooperation and collaboration with the Mexican government. And when I say Mexican government, I don't distinguish that from Mexican cartel.
Okay. My point on this is, do you think with what's happening, 𝗬𝗂𝗃𝗓 lives throughout the year till the end of the year with what's going on?
I don't know.
I mean, she's
I think
controlled by
she's prop.
cartels and she's playing ball with Trump. I don't know.
I think she might be getting a lot of Chinese lessons.
Okay.
I'd like to leave that part alone. The
Okay,
other
we'll talk
half,
about that on
yeah,
.tv.
the other half of the tariffs, and this is really, really big. It's the debt to equity conversions. Trump wants to have foreign countries. Let's just make up one particular example. It might be something like Toyota or Hyundai. Okay, car makers, Toyota in Japan, Hyundai in South Korea. They each might have a $10 billion treasury bond block. And Trump is going to say, all right, we want you to make cars in the United States. We want you to do partnerships with the big three, General Motors, Ford, and Chrysler. And here's how I'm hearing that it's going to be. They put the $10 billion down in the form of treasury bonds. The Treasury Department, U.S. Government Department of Treasury, says here is a coupon for your 10 billion, or a group of coupons, each one worth a certain amount, denominated, whatever. But here's a stack of coupons, and it's worth 10 billion Toyota, and it's worth 10 billion Hyundai. It's not Honda, it's Hyundai. It's
Good night.
Korean. Hyundai. Hey,
Hey,
hey.
ha.
Okay, that's how they say yes. Hey.
Hey.
Okay.
Oh.
Japanese. All right. Now, the Department of Treasury takes the coupon, takes the treasury bond. They hand out the coupon. Okay. We had deep throat in Watergate, and I still follow the deep throat theme. Follow the money. Follow the flow. All right. So the Treasury Department in the U.S. government with Bessent in charge, and he's got full support with Trump on this whole notion. $10 billion in coupons are in the hands of Hyundai and Toyota. Now, you got a guy named Jack Smith in South Dakota, and you got a guy named John Miller in Texas, outside, who knows, San Antonio. And they get coupons for selling them land next to car plants, next to car maker plants. Okay, what does John Smith, and what does John Miller do with the coupons? Follow the money. Okay, if they sell land, maybe they're going to be partners also in the plant to build cars. Let's assume that they're, in partnership. All right, now they're going to need to bring in Toyota car making automated equipment, and that's going to be imported. Will that be exempt from a tariff? Okay, a lot of questions coming up.
Oh, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Okay, now let's say that they're going to be working with General Motors in South Dakota. I don't care if I'm giving an example. This is hypothetical. If they're giving Jack Smith, these big billion-dollar coupons, it's not going to be $1 billion for land. It's going to be like, $20 million, something like that, a huge expanse of land. And it might include maybe some partnerships for part supply, glass, plastic, tires, whatever, heating units, air conditioning units. Now, Jack Smith in South Dakota is going to be buying air conditioners and buying tires, and I guarantee you that Toyota will not be importing tires. Okay, they'll be making U.S. tires. The U.S. will supply the tires. Okay, there's going to be a give and take. Follow the money. Much of the money will be used for plant equipment and downstream parts. What will Jack Smith do with his money? If he gets all this cash for land, will he buy a swimming pool? Will he buy his wife a fur coat? Will he buy his mistress a fur coat? Will he go on a travel tour? Or will he invest in a car parts business to get really deeply involved in the layers? Okay, it depends on how this is being used. The Department of Treasury, they're going to print money and hand it out for the coupons. They're going to, okay, remember how we heard a year ago, all these treasury bonds are going to come back to the United States and cause a lot of price inflation. Well, now those treasury bonds are going to come back in the form of debt to equity, and the equity is going to be spent, and the equity, I hope, will be invested for supply chain. Now, maybe Jack Smith in South Dakota is going to want to get involved in a big purchase of some bargain, hay field, buy 1,000 acres of a hay field in South Dakota and get into farming. And that would benefit the farming industry. Okay, I'm thinking about the trickle down. Is it going to be a swimming pool and travel plans and fur coats for wives and mistresses? Or is it going to be something for productive capacity? If it's leaning toward productive capacity, we're going to see a benefit in the supply chain. We're going to see cheaper cars. We're going to see, maybe, things that we don't expect, lower prices for car parts. And I'm not even talking about the pharmaceutical industry, which I believe is going to come back to the United States for pharmaceutical components with the problems that we're going to have blocking Chinese. The Chinese now have a dominant position.
They're going to die on the vine.
Pardon me?
China's going to die on the vine, pretty much.
We actually might see.
That's what they're looking at here, right? I mean, they're looking at complete catastrophe for their economy.
I think we might see some extreme challenges and reforms of the Chinese Communist Party or its collapse.
What about their land here, especially with those EOs that Trump signed regarding? Well, I guess we'll go on that. We'll talk about that on the back channel. That's I don't want to talk about that here, but the land that they have so much land just here in Texas, thousands upon thousands of acres, if not millions of acres. I mean, it's ridiculous. How do we?
What? How are you going to capitalize on it? for production or
Aren't
whatever.
we going to be able to seize that and take it back?
Oh,
Due
what do
to
you mean
the due to the well,
take it back from what? You mean Chinese ownership?
yes, from
Oh,
the
oh, I didn't
from
know.
the
I didn't know.
executive orders that Trump signed.
Oh, well,
But I would like to talk about that on the other channel. So
yeah, that's a sticky issue, and
yeah,
I haven't heard a lot about that, but we'll talk about that later. Let's stick with the tariffs because what I'm seeing, like with the tariff threat with Canada, now they're going to have a chief, they call him czar, for fentanyl crossing the border. Okay, these are bargaining points, Nino. and we got a 1 month, 30-day delay with Canada for their tariffs. Is it going to be a 90-day delay next? Okay, this is bargaining, bargaining, bargaining. And, this is devastating, much more devastating for Canada than it is for China. I just saw an interview of a Canadian analyst, and he said that 60% of all the Canadian businesses within 20 miles of the border, US border, they're going to want to create subsidiaries and expand businesses in the United States. Whoa! That means Canadian layoffs of jobs. They're going to
that's why
have
they'll become the 51st state. They'll be
I
forced
don't,
into that.
I don't, yeah, I know there's going to be a lot of talk about that. I don't think that's going to happen. I think we've got a history as a nation, and it's not going to change. I mean, we're not going to annex Chihuahua, and we're not going to annex Ontario. I just don't think it's going to happen. I just,
Really,
that's
I
my
mean,
opinion.
so much
I
is
know.
happening right now that I would have never thought happened. Damn.
Well, they could make the first 20 miles of Canada a free trade zone. There are lots of alternatives, Nino.
Okay.
Free trade zone is a powerful tool that just says no tariffs, whatever you do here, no taxes, no tariffs, no nothing. Okay, I'm not done with these tariffs. We've got a potential threat, and I'll develop it more in the next half, but I do not want to see a reaction internationally of a treasury bond boycott because that could mean that we have interrupted supply at every major support, just starting with Long Beach. I mean, there are a lot of Americans who aren't really up on economics, but we've got Savannah, Georgia as a big port, New Orleans as a big port, Philadelphia is a big port. Portland, Maine is a big port. Oakland, California, San Francisco area. These are all very big ports. Houston also. Um, if foreigners don't want treasury bills because of a rather aggressive stance by Trump, we're in trouble. We're not just in trouble, we're in disaster trouble. That's why I think Trump is going to be very flexible in removing the threat of tariff if he gets a concession. Now, I'll give you an example. We haven't heard much from the Japanese outside of SoftBank. Now, notice that SoftBank pledged $100 billion, but what did they pledge it in? It's not car making. It's not consumer goods. It's not housewares.
Was
It's
it
not
AI?
AI. But they also said AI supporting services like maybe electricity production. Nino, this could be very big toward electricity production. Just SoftBank. They could announce 10 different electricity plants across the United States and locate them near data centers. Like there's a big data center in Northern Virginia, near the West Virginia border. And it's got participation by all the majors, Google, um, Apple, Amazon, and a couple of others. Okay, we got an electricity problem. And I think SoftBank is going to work toward that. But they're also going to have, robotics. I mean, the actual machines, the robot type machines and all the different components. Okay. What SoftBank did not say is that we're going to have technology, diverse technology investment. No, they're very specific. They're AI and the supporting industry. Okay. Imagine that Japan has a statement after meeting with Trump that their big three car makers, Honda, Nissan, and and Toyota, along with, say, Toshiba and Nikon camera. And I'm just making other examples that are not cars. And they promised to invest in the United States using some of their $800 billion in treasury bonds. 800 billion is a lot of money. And you know, if we get 20 or 30 or 50 billion just from Japan, that'd be huge. 800 billion is what their central bank holds.
Wow.
Okay, China holds the same amount. They're reducing, and they're not telling us about it. They're dumping treasury bonds. Okay, there's a lot going on with treasury bonds, and that's better to talk about later, where we could, you know, speak a little more freely. And just for all you thieves out there, this is Nino's Corner. Nino Bambino, the very handsome, enormous fellow. Nino, there are a lot of surprises coming, and I hope this doesn't bother you, but I want to interrupt. I've been told that there's some people who are taking my content and they're putting a different date there.
Yep. It's happening to me.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know how to stop it.
Well, I think you need to tell people that where you do have shows.
I have people scouring the internet, stuff like that, and then they receive strikes on their channels or whatever, but it's still hard, man. I mean, it's just,
yeah, I know.
It's the Wild West still, you know.
I know. I haven't done much except to say I have no social network account that posts, period. Okay. But there is with my own website manager. We did something in, I think it was May, and then we did another one in August, and we haven't done one since.
Bit. Right. And it's way overdue.
Yeah. Well, okay. Oh, what else is kind of innocuous regarding the economy?
Well, let's go back. Let's go to Nino's Corner.tv right now and just talk about the really good stuff. Let's do that. Okay. All right, folks. We'll see you at Nino's Corner.tv later.